What's up YouTube? Welcome to Cars, Cost, and Technology. Today I'm going to be reviewing a 2018 Camaro ZL1, courtesy of Bradshaw Chevrolet in Greer, South Carolina. Now this dealership is special to me because this is actually where I get my personal Corvette serviced, as well as where I'll be purchasing my next Corvette from. I came across this dealership after having a bad experience elsewhere, and I have to say, after how well they've treated me, I have absolutely no reservations about recommending them to you guys. Definitely check them out if you're in the market for a new GM vehicle. I'll have all their information listed in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in this review with a good old key comparison. I've got my 2016 Corvette Stingray key here, along with the ZL1 key. You can see on the back, obviously Corvette uses their logo rather than the traditional Chevy bow tie. But for those of you that are unfamiliar with the ZL1, this is pretty much the top dog in the Camaro lineup. That and its sibling, the ZL1 1LE. But this actually shares the 6.2 liter supercharged V8 engine from the Z06 Corvette, dubbed the LT4. So we know it's got plenty of power. It's got 650 horsepower as well as 650 foot-pounds of torque. Really powerful engine. I know it runs great in the Z06, so I'm really curious to see how it performs in the Camaro platform. Obviously there's going to be a little bit more weight on the Camaro than the Z06, but I know this engine has plenty of power to pull it. The model I'll be reviewing today has the 10-speed automatic transmission. It does come in a manual variant as well. If you go with the 1LE, it only has the manual version, but this one does have the 10-speed auto, so I'm pretty excited for that. I want to go over a few numbers with you guys before we get started. Obviously the Nürburgring lap times are a pretty important gauge or measuring stick for supercars and sports cars these days. So I just want to show you really where the Camaro ZL1 stands out as a great value. When you compare its lap times to some of its competitors like the Shelby GT350R, you can see that it's able to beat it out pretty badly and hang with some even much more expensive exotic cars like the McLaren 12C, obviously the Carrera GT being a much older car, kind of a bad comparison, but beats out the SLS AMG GT. So very impressive lap times, especially for this price point, you know, starting right around $64,000. Now if you want to bump up to just under $70,000 and go with the ZL1 1LE, you get even crazier lap times. This one actually shaves down to 7 minutes and 16 seconds, which is able to beat out cars like the Nissan GTR, Ferrari 488 GTB, an older Lamborghini Aventador, or the Ferrari 458 Italia. So really impressive there, and that car is still just under $70,000. So insane performance for that price. But obviously, like I said, there's a lot of variables that go into those lap times, so I know that's not the end-all be-all or best measuring stick for exactly how a car performs in real-world situations. But obviously, for that kind of performance and traction, you're going to need some good tires. So I want to show you guys what they're going to run on the ZL1. This car does have a line lock feature, which you're probably not going to want to use it all that often and burn off these rear tires. With them coming in at just under $350 a piece for the original tires, it's going to be just about $700 to replace your rear set. So I would avoid doing burnouts as much as you can. With the front tires coming in at just under $300 each, you're looking at well over $1,000 to replace the tires on this car. So, but you know, it's the price you pay to get that kind of grip and that kind of traction on a car like this. So I'm sure it's well worth it when you're trying to push the edge on the track, and you know, just something that you need. It's an essential part to high performance on the track. Now, when we look at some other costs involved with owning the car, I want to show you guys some insurance premiums. I am 25 years old with no accidents or no tickets on my record. The quote I received from my insurance company was not that bad at $879 for 6 months. That's only $8.70 more than my Corvette. Considering this has so much more horsepower and a higher MSRP, I'm pretty surprised by that. Now, normally at this point in the review, I'd go ahead and show you guys the interior and go over some technology features of the car, but I'm just so excited to show you some driving clips of this car. We're going to jump into that earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to some driving shots, just kind of give you guys some first impressions on how this car drives. So right away you start to get a sense for just how wide this car is and how stiff the suspension and steering is. It's definitely much more comparable to a Z06 Corvette than it is my base model Stingray. Obviously my car having 15,000 miles on it, it's naturally going to be a little bit looser than something like this with it being a brand new car, but you can just feel how tight and stiff everything is in this car. Very nice driving feel. It sits up, the seating position is much higher than in a Corvette, so that's something I had to get used to at first, but overall the car rides really nicely. It's pretty incredible to me, you know, going back to the track times, that, you know, a car like this with all these features in the interior, which we're going to go over more in depth at the end of this video, it has all these extra, you know, creature comforts in the interior and all the features that you could want, but it still has such a high level of track performance, where you've seen some of these other model cars that are actually stripping away basic things like radios and power seats, and, you know, in the sake of weight savings. Now, I understand weight savings, but, you know, if you're going to be driving this car more often than just on track days, it's really nice to have all those extra features there and all the extra comforts, and still get that performance. You know, I think think in this day and age, it's very hard to justify having such limited features on a car that you're spending so much money on, unless if it's one of many in your garage that you're not going to be driving very often. But this has way more features than the stripped out, say, GT350R or the old Camaro Z28 that they would try to remove some of the features like air conditioning or radio or things of that nature that you really want in a car, but it actually performs better than those cars. So that's pretty impressive to me that they were still able to, keep the weight relatively low, keep the performance high, but still have those awesome features that you are going to want, especially if you end up driving the car on to work or commuting daily, things of that nature, which not everyone's going to do, but I'm the type of guy that does drive a sports car daily, so I could see myself driving this to work and doing more with it than just taking it out on weekends. So it's really nice to see all the comfort and luxuries. Now, believe it or not, neither the Camaro ZL1 nor the ZL1 1LE have the option of getting carbon ceramic brake rotors, which is normally a track car favorite, but the Camaro chief engineer has stated that the current Brembo system, even on steel rotors, because of how large they are, it would be very difficult to overheat them, even in really extreme situations. Obviously, in my testing, I'm nowhere near the limits of the car where I could vouch for any kind of brake fade or anything like that, but I will say the Brembo 6-piston calipers up front, 4-piston in the rear with steel rotors, they bite really hard. Braking was really impressive. So I would say that even without carbon ceramic rotors, that this would be really good at stopping on the track. I know on regular street conditions, it was extremely impressive how quickly the car could stop. But I'm going to go ahead and change it over into the paddle shift mode so we can get an idea of how quickly this 10-speed automatic shifts when it comes to using the paddles, see how it compares to the 8-speed automatic in my Corvette. Obviously, with this being a brand new car that somebody's getting ready to spend a lot of money on, I want to make sure I didn't put any unnecessary wear and tear on it. I just did a few brief pulls just to get a feel for the engine and transmission. I can say that this 10-speed auto is a very, very nice transmission. In automatic mode, it felt great. In manual mode, it felt even better. Super quick shifts. I'm really a fan of this transmission. I'm hopeful that this will make its way into future Corvette generations. I may even make a video about it in the future, specifically talking about that. But very nice transmission. Let's take a little bit to just listen to that supercharger whine now. So after reviewing two supercharged cars in a row, I'm pretty much hooked on that noise. I got to go ahead and develop a strategy to get myself a Z06 because that supercharger sound is just fantastic. But this car overall is really quick. 0 to 60 times rated at 3.5 seconds, plenty of power. Like I said, great sounding car. Overall, it was very fun to drive, and I'm very thankful I had the opportunity to review it. Now that we've taken a look at the driving dynamics of this car, let's go ahead and take a look at the interior. So like I mentioned while driving earlier, the interior of this car is really impressive, especially considering it's supposed to be a track-oriented car. It's got the custom Recaro seats in there with the suede microfiber inserts. They feel really good. They hold you in place well, and I love the red accents. Very nice seats. I think for my next Corvette, I'll definitely be going with the competition seats just to get that upgraded look and feel. But the rest of the interior is really nice as well. Like I mentioned, you don't have to give up your AC, your radio, backup camera, heated and cooled seats, things of that nature, just to go with a track-focused car, even if you go with the 1LE variant. So that's really nice that you can still get this kind of performance without giving up all those kind of comfort features. But let's go ahead and take a look at the infotainment system. Obviously, with this being a Chevrolet infotainment system, a lot of you Corvette guys are going to see a lot of familiar features in here, but I wanted to show you the kind of the twist that Chevrolet has put on it in the Camaro. You've got the teen driver information system where you can actually view things like how fast the car was driven, how far the car was driven, how many accelerations or hard brakings were done, things like that. If you were lending your car to, say, your child or a friend, this Camaro is equipped with the performance data recorder, so that's really awesome. That is a optional feature in here, and I've talked about that in some of my other videos. I'd like to have this feature not only for the just the overlays that you can add to your footage of you driving, but also for the valet mode, where you can track how fast your car is being driven, or what's being done to your car while it's being driven by a valet. So really cool feature there. Definitely a big fan of the performance data recorder. I think that's a worthwhile feature. And outside of that, you've got some other cool features in here. One of my favorites is going to be the interior lighting. So you'll notice right around the infotainment system this red band. You can actually customize that, and there's so many different settings. I don't know that there necessarily needs to be as many as there are, but I think it's a welcome addition to the interior, and I would like to have something like this in one of my future Corvettes. Like I said, to be able to change the lighting there, it just kind of gives you a cool vibe to the interior, makes it look very futuristic, and it might be kind of gimmicky, but once you're actually sitting in it, you'd be surprised how cool it is and how much it can change the mood in there. There's actually an option where you can link it to the drive mode, so depending on whether you're in sport, track, things of that nature, you can actually adjust the lighting to kind of give a different feel. During the day, it's not going to have much of an impact, but at night, I think that this would look really cool, and it's an awesome feature. I think that it makes the car look that much more premium, and it actually not only is on the infotainment system, but it also wraps around to the doors, and it's also in the cup holders as well. So it's a pretty cool effect throughout the car when you change those, and you're able to actually customize it really to your liking. I'm actually surprised at how many different options they built into it to customize. You can even go as far as setting it to on a like a strobe or a show feature, where it just alternates automatically by itself to different colors, which is a pretty cool feature that you could definitely turn on for a passenger who's never ridden the car before, and I think that they would definitely get a kick out of that. So really a fan of that system. I'd like to see that in more Chevrolet or GM vehicles in the future. I think it's a really cool effect and definitely adds a nice touch to the car. But as we wrap up with the infotainment system, moving on to just technology in general in the car, wouldn't be a complete review if I didn't mention that this car actually has its own application. When this car was launched, or the 6th generation Camaro was launched, they actually built a Camaro 6 app that you can go in and fully customize your own Camaro in. It's a really cool application. I had a chance to play around with it for a little bit. You should definitely download it if you're thinking about buying a Camaro. You can actually go in there and completely build yours from the ground up, all your features, options, and everything. So love to see this on more Chevrolet vehicles in the future. I think if I had a Corvette application like this, I could play on this for hours, just customizing one to my specific specs. So really nice application, and it's completely free. A lot of fun to play with. Obviously, you can do something similar online, but to be able to do it on your phone and it be a little more interactive like this is a really nice touch. I think it's a cool application. Glad to see that they're being innovative like that and pushing the envelope. But that's pretty much it for this review, guys. I just want to say thanks again to Bradshaw Chevrolet in Greer, South Carolina. Check them out at the information in the description. But let me know what you thought of this review, guys, and let me know what vehicles you'd like to see next. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.